I'm really tickled with how this Raptor liner turned out. The charcoal and everything. Not quite as dark as our paint charcoal, but it still turned out really nice. Just a great product, as you probably well know. Well, it turns out a guy had to run to town. I did not have quite all the hardware I needed. I don't know how I missed it, but that stuff happens all the time. And when you live where I do, it's a commitment, you know, of time just to go get hardware. So, did that. I think I have what I need now. I also cut little squares with hole in it. This is old rubberized canvas glass setting tape. You know, just little bits of rubber. Basically on this project, where I think there's going to be a lot of vibration, all this new paint and so forth, with the hardware, you know, I'm doing things like putting rubber washers under the flat washers, this between the fender and the angle iron that holds the fender on. It'll keep vibration and squeaks to a minimum and also prevent rub through of the paint. You rub through the paint, you keep the tractor washed, it gets caught in the rain, in the mud or whatever, soon it starts to rust. You know how it goes. I'm just trying to do what I can to prevent problems, and maybe I'm just being a little persnickety, but anyway. I'm going to get my hardware laid out, and we'll put a fender on. The guy had to do a bunch of grunting and hissing and spitting to get this thing in here. Whatever that's supposed to mean. But we got it in. And that thing is, you know, I could flip the tractor over with that thing. So now we need to reinforce the rear of the fender. And I just trying to find a place for you guys. Oh, doggone it. I forgot lock washers again. That's going to be the one detail on this project that just I don't get done till the very last minute. Yeah, one of the axle bolts clear in there. You probably saw me take this off. I don't remember, but then it catches this hole on the fender right here. And showing you is going to be nearly impossible, but suffice to say, I'm going to put this in there right now. The left-hand light is on. I thought I could get it on after I had the bracket on, but apparently my fingers are more bratwurst-like than I thought, and I just absolutely could not get the washers and the nut up in there and hold them at the same time and start the nut. It just wasn't working. So I took it all off and started over. It's still loose. I want to you know, kind of judge a little better when both are on what's straightforward, but I don't know that it really matters. I also made little gaskets to go between, once again, just for anti-rubbing, anti-vibration, anti-wearing through the paint kind of thing. Now this side, the armored wire, I was able to, well, first of all, I cut off their beautiful heat shrink end, their terminal end. I couldn't get it all through that 3/8 hole down there, and anyway, I got it to come right on up through. You'll remember that when I was getting these fenders ready, I was taking a piece of brass brazing rod, much like this, in a drill, and I was shoving it up through the bottom end and trying to work out all the crud that had built up in this curve here. However, on this end, unfortunately, is a much different story. I can get the brazing rod down through it, but right in here, there's just the crust. I don't know what else to say. Evidently, I did not get it good enough. I can get this through it, as I say, albeit it's a bit of a chore, but I can get it to go down in there. But getting the wire back through it, so far it has been impossible. Right now I'm just using this, trying to use this to clean out the big enough spot again to get my stuff through. I've tried rigid house wire, I've tried flexible automotive wire, I've got this old choke cable, you know, and that seems to be an ideal tool to use. And I've got the armored wire taped. I actually got this through. That was terribly hard. I don't know why that should be more difficult than getting this brazing rod through, but it was. I got it through, and I've got our armored wire taped to the other end. But I just get to this curve and I can absolutely not get it through. So I've just got to keep, I guess, just keep hacking away in there with this brazing rod and trying to form a big enough hole to get that wire through. I'll keep at it. The arthritis is already acting up. No, I don't have arthritis. But my hands they're singing a little bit, you know. Yes, come on. Feed you a little more line here. Easily been monkeying around with this thing for the past half hour since I last updated you. Come on now. Yeah. Come on. Oh. Wow. So hindsight being what it is, there's more that I could have done. Now, I really believe that when I was cleaning it out with the brazing rod and the drill, I honestly thought I had a nice clear passage through there, and maybe I did. Well, I know I did, but perhaps it was just difficult for me to hit that same passage coming from the other direction with the choke rod, and you know, with the duct tape and everything, of course, and the flexible wire, it just gets bound up in a much bigger space. Honestly, you know, I could have removed that brace, all the spot welds, and cleaned up the inside, yeah. I think probably what I should have done is submerge these upside down, you know, the curved area especially, in a tank of citric acid. Somehow make that work, and that really would have eaten all that out of there. Then you gotta, you know, think about how to seal it up and so forth. But like I say, hindsight being what it is, there's some things we could have done differently, but we got it. I'm hoping I have enough slack here to get to our light hook point. I don't know. All I can do is try. Now the oil in here, this is oil that was brand new when this thing was restored the first time, and I don't know if you can get a good sight on that through the camera, but that stuff is brand new, no trace of water, smells really good, no gas in it, no antifreeze in it. So I'm assuming I'm just going to run with the oil and the filter. They are new, albeit they have some age on them, a few years, right? However, I am going to double check myself here, and we're just going to pop the drain plug loose and see if any water comes out. This thing has not been run in a year, so all of that should be settled to the drain plug again. And if there is any hint of water I'm thinking from the tornado, things being the pipes, intake and exhaust pipes being whacked off level with the hood the night of the tornado, you know, did rain come down the pipes, get into the crankcase? We want to find that out. We want to double check that. So I'm going to do that, and we'll see what we got. Oh, that is assuming I can get the drain plug out. Oh, hey. Hey now. What is wrong with this wrench or this plug? I don't know. What in the world? No. Oh. Ugh. What? Ugh. Pipe wrench. Well, pure oil. We are good to go. Well, I thought I had more antifreeze than I did. I got a little in there, so I know towards the bottom of the radiator doesn't leak, you know. Got about a gallon in there. I'm gonna have to run to town for the noon. I'm batching it today. The whole family left me. Went to town having fun at the dentist, you know. So I'm crying, I'm all alone. Anyway, I'm gonna throw the tank in there now. Normally I would probably put some form of rubber all the way around, but I did put that Raptor liner in all the way around, on the straps, on the inside of the hood, and that was part of my motivation for doing so. I really think that is more than enough anti-vibration and so forth protection for that. What I'm going to do, I don't want to turn our fresh painted hood upside down and scratch it all up. I'm going to try to sneak this under the hood, bring it back through the straps and up in place. Hopefully I don't just dump the whole works off the cart, you know. We'll give it a shot. I don't know. That's all I can do. Fairly stable. Having a helping hand here at this point would be nice. This. Okay. Get our straps under us here. Oh yeah, that was simple. There. Okay, let's put the box back under. All right. Try to sneak my hardware in there. You don't need to see that. Well, guys, I want to offer my apologies and my condolences. So we've had a cold snap here in Kansas the last couple weeks, and we had wind and snow and sub-zero temperatures, which, you know, for Kansas, yeah, we get some bitter cold days every winter, but, you know, this was a little bit over the top for what we usually get. It's not like we're in Siberia or Minnesota or one of those other northern states. So anyway, Friday, what I'm saying is my boys usually come by each afternoon and help Dad out a little bit. and earn some money and get experience with tools and so forth, you know. And I hadn't seen them. I've had this tractor hood ready for a week or two, and they pretty much stayed home, did school, and did their thing there, and that was fine. You know, I was here shivering for half the day while my diesel burner tried to warm this not quite weather-tight shop up, and we got stuff done, is what I'm saying. I could cut and I could weld on the Dodge bed there, and we got some stuff, and you'll be seeing that coming. But anyway, finally on Friday, this is now Monday, but one of my boys was here, and he was working on a personal project, and so I said, hey, before we go, I've got to get this hood on. And so the hood is on, right? So you're going to see it now, and I'm apologizing that I didn't get it on camera, but I had to strike while the iron was hot. So there's a good first look of how this thing is supposed to be, once again, right? Makes it look a whole lot more complete, doesn't it? I was having a lot of problems on the other side with getting bolts started. I have all my my grill bolts, radiator bolts, whatever you want to call them, started over there. I need a tap for the other side here, and I can't find a 3/8 tap to save my life in his assortment drawer there, so I got to get one from home. I don't know what's going on there, why it's not cooperating, but anyway, we will deal with that. I started on the other side trying to put bolts in here, and I was having a lot of difficulty getting any movement. You'll remember we already test fit this hood with the grill and the instrument panel in place, and wasn't getting anywhere. And then I was like, hey, dummy, you have the gas tank installed now, and that's holding all the sheet metal rigid, so loosen the straps, and it looks like I was going to make some progress there. So anyway, let's continue on. I think the way a guy had to get this going when I was test fitting is I got the very top center one held down, and then that kind of aided the installation of all the rest. Easy. Alright, well, I want to get my exhaust welded up and painted, and I think it's looking okay here. You know, we got about, I don't know, 5 inches there. I think I may kind of replicate that on the top side. I don't think we need it just so incredibly tall. I'll cut about half this off and clamp our rain flapper off, you know, clamp it on there, and that ought to look pretty good. Then I'll probably paint it with an exhaust paint, a nice black, and away we go. looking really good and really coming along there. I have a short list of things that I need to accomplish yet. Touch-ups, that will be the very last. That and sanding and buffing probably. So we're working on the PTO pulley. I've got to get the correct socket and dig into that farther. Lug washers, all of the center washers on the lug bolts, they were, who knows where they were bought from, but they all just spread open as soon as we tighten them down. So very, very cheap quality lock washers. Pinstriping, we'll figure that out. Battery protection, I just want to add a little bit more rubber on top of the negative battery post. So that's not a big deal. Grease the thing, not a big deal. Still need to look if I have a gen cover, if a Delco old school one would work. So we got to get these things checked off, and then it's going to be out of here. So here's a piece of our build that has just kind of gotten shoved to the side and forgotten about. And that is our flat belt power takeoff unit here. So I'm going to have to address this, and the difficulty, I mean, it's not such a big difficulty, but I may, in order to get this onto the tractor, may have to take the right side tire off. I could also take this whole assembly off of the tractor and replace it. We'll see what happens. Taking the tire off may be a little more attractive. Just because then we're not dealing with oil problems. But anyway, I'm going to be struggling with getting this cotter pin out and then the nut off. I don't think I quite have the right size of... Well, that's way too big. How did I get that big of a... Anyway. You'll be back. Moving the cotter pin just isn't happening. It's too seized up in there, and I cannot get from the ends to work on it. You know, it's all recessed an inch or inch and a half inside our pulley here. So sometimes a guy's got to resort to what he has to do, and I've done it before where you just have to use the castle nut to machine the pin off. I don't like doing it, but sometimes that's what you do. I don't know that I have great hopes for my 1/2-inch impact here. We may have to go borrow a 3/4. Alright, we got her on 2 scraps of I-beam, and we're going to try to tickle it off with a block of wood and a sledge. When that fails, I'll probably go to a sledge on a sledge. We'll see. We're actually moving it. Come on. There we go. Yeah, you do that. Alright, I brought this gen cover, the brush cover, from home. That's off a Delco, 6-volt Delco generator from a Chevy, and you can see we're just, you know, if it was 1/2 inch shorter, it would be good. So I'm thinking they just rolled the end up here. So I'm thinking if I make a tool to continue that roll and get rid of 1/2 inch, we'll be right there where we need to be. I can clean this up and paint it and we'll be good to go. Alright, well, a guy can easily roll this material by hand, so that's an easy fix. I think we're about there. Holy cow. Now, come now. Just come now. Bucky little baby. There we go. Now I've got these kind of these OEM manufacturer modern clamp protectors that were already on here when I got the tractor, and that is probably okay. I'm using a different battery. I'm just using a run-of-the-mill off-the-shelf 6-volt here. And what was in here was one of those red top Optimas, you know, the dry cells. I'm not even sure, can a guy even buy those anymore? Anyway, it looks like now that we have the gas tank in and we're all tightened down on the hood, we're a little lower than I'm comfortable with, but I really don't know what other kind of style of battery or size they would have had back in the day. I'm okay with the positive, because if something should wear through and rub on the bottom of the tank, that's the ground, a positive ground. I'm not digging if that should happen on the negative side, right? And I wish I would have thought of putting something in there before. But if I can sneak just an extra layer of rubber in there, I'm going to be a little bit more pleased with myself. Wasn't making much headway, so I ended up getting a different negative cable. You see the crazy offset in this thing, which normally wouldn't be a problem, but my parts store had this one, so it's about half the offset, I would say, that this one is. And I got it. It's a little bit shorter than the other. Still 1 gauge, which I could even go a little bigger for a 6-volt system, you know. But anyway, slide this back in, and where's my rubber piece? I'll still put that on top, and away we go. Well, you'll remember that in the last video I mentioned dropping comments in the comment section, suggestions, shall we say, about what your ideas, if I should add pinstriping, where I should add it, so on and so forth. Let me grab it. And a bunch of you did suggest things, and I really appreciate it. Originally what I was thinking, it'd be nice to have a nice red line, you know, go about 1/8 of an inch, so an equal thickness of the pinstriping down on the charcoal stripe. You know, and it'd still look pretty good, I admit, but I want to keep it as simple as possible. Well, that following Sunday morning, that's not computing in my head. It must have been a week later. The owner of the tractor came up to me after church service. We go to the same church, and his suggestion was just a short little red stripe on either side of the Silver King decal, just to keep it simple. You know, you at least got to listen to the man with the money, and since I had no definite ideas or plans of my own, I did it. And I like it. You know, we could get just so carried away and add way too much, and before you know it, he's entered into a lowrider dancing competition in downtown Las Vegas or whatever, you know. Which would be cool to watch, I admit, but we don't want to tempt him there, so I just did what he said on the side here, kept it simple. I really think now going along and adding this, I could go either way, but I really think it'd be too much. Then up front here, I just really needed a splash of color. I really needed a splash of red. Not necessary, but this was my idea. I really wanted to try that. What do you think, guys? Good or bad, or indifferent? I don't know. Personally, I like it, but if the owner doesn't, a few minutes with a heat gun, pop right off. Anyway, that's it for the pinstriping. Not doing any more. We're done. Moving on. Does anyone like this style of grease gun? I can't stand them. Why do you like them if you do? A guy needs two hands, you know it? Let me rephrase that. A guy has two hands, but he needs 3 hands to run one of these. Hiya. Yeah. While I'm waiting to recoat some of that stuff, I'm just going to start putting some paint on the wheels here. Nothing fancy. Careful. Careful. Sure. Shazam! Now while I'm waiting for everything else, we're just going to be careful with the water, but there are a few spots that I just didn't like in the paint. I don't think I'm going to do a complete sanding. Overall, it's looking really good, but there are some spots on the hood that got lower down that got a little dry where I just couldn't see what I was doing, and some dry paint around the around the back side of the hips on the saddle there. So I'm going to buff that out, do this, buff that out, and I'll look over the fenders. Overall, they look pretty good, so I may not do anything there. But I'm pushing to get this thing out the door, and we're getting very close. I didn't want wet sanding dust and buffing compound splattered all over this thing, so that's the reason for the mask. It's like a guy's working at Subway. Alright, I've gone over my spots that I want to fix with 600, 1200, and 2000. Some people might call it 2000. I don't know. But anyway, I'm just going to go over it with the buffer real quick with some correcting cream and then polish it out. and should be done. All right, I think our time has come to fire this thing off once again. It's as good as we're going to get it, I believe. Now you'll recall that I fired this particular engine up only long enough to see that it would run, and that was at the warehouse shop at Dad-in-law's. And we drove it onto the trailer, brought it here, and that was the end of it. I'm going to put a couple gallons in here. Now I have no idea. I really need to talk to the owner about this engine to see if it was ever reworked at the first restoration, if seats were put in the under the valves, you know. If not, we need to recommend that he runs a lead additive, substitute, whatever you want to call it. And then, of course, it's always good to put a high zinc oil in here, so it all just depends on what was done to that engine. I have no idea. I put stable in the gas. I'm only going to do a couple gallons, just long enough to test it out and get it back home. Long enough? Did I say long enough? Just enough. Probably is what I was searching for there. Now we're going to check for leaks. That petcock even acts like it wants to leak. Yeah, we're certainly leaking down there. I think literally everything is leaking. All right, well, after a trip to town, after actually a long trip, we got a little distracted, as a guy can see. It's a chassis for a 46 GMC. That'll come into play and fulfill a few dreams that a guy's had. Whoa, I think I went way too far. There we go. You know, for at least a fortnight. But anyway, more on that later. Ran to Tractor Supply while we were ootin' a boot and picked up one of their units. And, you know, they had like half a dozen options and they all had 1/4 inch thread, which we needed, whatever, minuscule, like 1/8 inch, you know. But I figure I'm a smart feller, so I just took it apart, took out their petcock, took out their gasket and screen, put those parts in our old one here, and away we go. So let's get this thing fired up, and I want to move it out and I want to run it for a while. Sounds great. Well, guys, as the saying goes, the best laid plans of mice rarely involve men. And I thought we were done here, but we were not charging. I took this apart. We have some kind of short going on that our little contacts, they're not breaking contact. So rather than try to figure that out, actually I just ran out to the parts tractor, got this nondescript regulator off of that generator. Actually, this one was like wired to the oil lines or something in here, just to try it out, and sure enough, it was producing at least higher than battery voltage. So I got on the horn and I called Brillman, and they're sending out one that they keep in stock. It is a Ford style 6-volt positive ground, and most importantly, it is nice and narrow. So I'm hoping I can somehow fashion a way to mount it on this generator. I'm guessing that's what Ford did. I don't know for a fact. Otherwise, I can get a Delco style, but typically, at least the ones that I run into, those are a little larger. So we'll see. We'll see if it gets here before Friday. If not, this is kind of how we're going to have to end this video. Maybe it will. Stay tuned and find out after this commercial message. On a side note, the owners now have a parts tractor on their hands, including a complete running gear that runs. We've proven that it runs and drives, remember? Plus all of this. These are very expensive, hard to find, very sought after parts. So don't pass up this opportunity. You know, make them an offer. They would probably entertain words like, come and get it, and first come, first serve for free. You know, those kinds of things. I really don't think they have any notions of keeping anything and where to put anything. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say, come and get it. Go down in the description of this video. You can find my email. Shoot me an email if you're interested, and I'm very certain we can work something out. All right? Cool. Well, guys, I'm not sure if the camera will cut out the background noise while I'm talking, but it may sound like we have a shed down by the tracks, like there's a train going by. Once again, Kansas in the springtime, we got like a 30-mile-an-hour wind blowing out there. So unfortunately, getting footage, it seems like every time I get a project done, I want to take it out and do some recording of it driving around, driving past the camera, and so on and so forth. I got nothing but strong winds, and that's the case today. So I'm just going to stick it in, or stay in here and and finish up, I'm going to take it out, take a few pictures, and call it good enough. Unfortunately, our voltage regulator did not show up today. That would be cutting it very fine as far as the mail system goes. I think Brillman Company is in Pennsylvania, somewhere out east, and here I am half the continent away, right? So there it is. Overall, really nice. I just happened to see we must have a kind of a drippy petcock on the bottom of the carburetor bowl there, so we got to clean that up. But overall, we are finished. I will get that voltage regulator on next week, and then I'll give the owner a call, and off it goes, and we make time and room for the next project. I really thank you guys, those of you that have been around through this whole process. I really thank you for spending the time with me, sharing the memory with me. If you are new here, seeing this thing for the first time, I have an entire playlist of what we did on this project. Once again, the 1948 Silver King Model 42, produced by Fate, Root, and Heath Company. So, there you go, guys. Thank you so much. God bless you. We will see you on the next one. I don't know what's correct, but what you're seeing here is what this family wanted, and they want it still, this silver and dark gray. Good paper towel or something. Shingles. Circa 2007 or older, I suppose. Got plaster in there. Got tar paper. Anything you want, huh? I know what you're thinking. You want to come rub on it. No, ma'am. You stay away. Yeah, that's right. Keep walking.